At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
The latest news has been buzzing with the OceanGate's Lost Titan submersible. This incredible event is taking place during an expedition to the Titanic wreckage, which is attracting a lot of attention. But do you know that Elon Musk's SpaceX is involved? Before we dive deeper into the story, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and join our community. By subscribing, you can enjoy mini documentaries and marvelous news and other fascinating innovations. All right, let's continue. The company responsible for organizing this daring expedition has shared intriguing information about their vessel. It turns out that the boat is equipped with the cutting-edge SpaceX Starlink internet connectivity. Yesterday, researchers confirmed that Starlink is leaking radiations, but did that affect the OceanGate submersible? For those who may not be familiar with the concept of Starlink, let's dive into what it's all about. Starlink is a revolutionary satellite internet system created by SpaceX, the renowned aerospace company. The primary objective of this ambitious project is to provide high-speed, low-latency internet access across the globe. This service aims to reach not only densely populated cities, but also remote and underserved areas that typically struggle with reliable connectivity. The secret behind Starlink's success lies in its ingenious design. It consists of a vast network of thousands of small satellites strategically positioned in low Earth orbit. These satellites work together, seamlessly beaming internet signals down to ground receivers on Earth. The result is a reliable and constant connection, even in the most remote and challenging locations. OceanGate Expeditions, the firm responsible for the ill-fated submersible, expressed their gratitude towards Musk's Starlink service for providing internet connectivity. Reliable internet access during the North Atlantic expedition was vital for ensuring smooth operations. Responding to a Snopes tweet, Musk controversially labeled the connection between Starlink and the submarine as a psyop, asserting that even a successful psychological operation could not be run. Following the shocking news of OceanGate Expedition's loss of contact with the submarine and its crew, desperate attempts were launched to locate the vessel before its life support systems ceased to function. The experimental submarine, available to tourists for a hefty $250,000, offered an exclusive chance to delve into the remnants of the Titanic, which met its demise in 1912. At present, there is no concrete evidence to suggest that Starlink was implicated in the vessel's vanishing. But what about that recent research that was released yesterday? Researchers at Max Planck Institute used a telescope in the Netherlands to observe 68 devices made by Starlink, finding 47 were emitting unintended electromagnetic radiation emanating from onboard electronics. The leakage is below the 10.7 to 12.7 GHz radio frequencies used for the downlink communication signals. Gyula Yosha with Max Planck said, "Every electric device generates leakage radiation. There is nothing you can do to prevent this except to influence the strength of those signals." So shortly, this didn't affect the Titan. And what happened there is a contempt for people's lives. Experts inside and outside the company warned of potential dangers and urged the company to undergo a certification process. The Titan itself was lost multiple times before, as confirmed by previous reports. David Pogue, a journalist who visited the sub and reported on the story for CBS News, revealed that the ship was lost for nearly 5 hours during his time on board the command ship. While the crew was able to send short texts to the sub during that period, they remained uncertain about its whereabouts. Pogue clarified that he was on the surface ship, not the sub, and it remains unclear why the sub's crew members were unable to communicate with the command ship while at sea. In an unexpected turn, it was revealed that OceanGate Expeditions had cut off internet access to their command ship's journalists to prevent them from spreading the news of the sub's disappearance.
I was emotionally terrified. I didn't sleep the night before. He drives the thing with this game controller. He uses rusty lead pipes from a construction industry as ballast. There were things that seemed sort of unsophisticated. And, of course, I brought this up with him. And he said, yeah, that's true, but these are just bells and whistles. The part that keeps you alive, the part we care about, is that carbon fiber cylinder and the titanium end caps that he designed in conjunction with NASA. And that, he said, is buttoned down.
Actually, according to The Independent, less than 14% of deep dive OceanGate trips made it to Titanic shipwreck. The company had a success rate of 14% and referred to the Titan craft as experimental 3 times in the 4-page liability waiver. So it's about 13 out of 90 dives and 200 dives in the Pacific, Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico using 2 submersibles while it had its first successful dive to the Titanic in 2021. Even the submersible was not certified or approved by any regulatory bodies, the waiver reportedly said. It also said that the submersible was constructed of materials that have not been widely used for manned submersibles. In a 2018 video posted to the company's YouTube channel, Rush can be heard describing the glue used to hold the carbon fiber submersible's structure together as being like peanut butter, saying it was pretty simple and thicker than Elmer's glue. Rush admits that if we mess it up, there's not a lot of room for recovery.
But if we mess it up, there's not a lot of recovery. The glue's very thick, so it's not like Elmer's glue. It's like peanut butter.
Now you saw the reasons of this disaster. Let's jump on the 4-page waiver signed by a would-be Titan passenger listing all the ways they could die in the experimental sub. Passengers who planned to dive on the Titan submersible had to sign a waiver that mentions death 3 times on the first page. The release of liability agreement lists a number of ways passengers on a trip to the Titanic could die, according to the document included being subjected to extreme pressure or any other failure of the sub, unpredictable conditions such as oceanic or atmospheric, and from boarding small vessels and other equipment. Other risks of death covered in the waiver include being exposed to high-pressure gases, pure oxygen servicing, and high-voltage electrical systems, the document stated. Let me show you the full document right here. Participants must acknowledge the risks involved in the expedition, which include diving in an experimental submersible vessel that has not been certified by any regulatory body, exposure to extreme pressure and potential vessel failure, hazards aboard the support ship and smaller vessels, risks associated with high-pressure gases, pure oxygen servicing, and high-voltage electrical systems if assisting with submersible operations. Limited medical support and emergency services due to remote location. Participants must release OceanGate Expeditions, its owner, and other associated parties from liability for any injuries, damages, or death that may occur during the expedition. They also agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless OceanGate Expeditions and its affiliates from any loss, liability, or costs incurred due to claims brought in violation of the release. No employer-employee relationship is established, and participants must provide their own health insurance. They also consent to first aid and medical treatment during the expedition and assume all costs for medical care and emergency transportation. Disputes related to the expedition or the release shall be governed by the laws of the Bahamas and resolved in the courts of the Bahamas. So nobody who's in this situation was caught off guard. They all know what they were getting into. After this 5 men signed these papers, they rode the sub. And as we all know, the disaster happened. At approximately 5,500 feet below sea level, an unforeseen electrical failure abruptly stole the Titan's stability, propelling it into a perilous, uncontrolled plunge towards the ocean floor, reminiscent of a stone's vertical fall. A terrifying 3,000-foot drop ensued before the Titan finally succumbed to an implosion. Crushed by the inescapable pressure from the surrounding millions of gallons of water, somewhere between 8,208 and 900 feet, the submersible was descending, smoothly, mirroring the tranquil horizontal plane. Then, roughly 1,700 meters or 5,500 feet, a power failure strikes, robbing the Titan of its engine propulsion and, crucially, communication with the mothership, the Polar Prince. The beleaguered Titan then swiftly changed its position, driving arrow-like into the abysmal depths. The passengers' collective weight of 880 pounds, all gravitating towards the front porthole, tipped the vessel's balance. Imagine the chaos, the dread and desperation much akin to scenes from a horror movie, Martine solemnly speculated. The unbearable ordeal was condensed into an estimated 48 to 71 seconds of uncontrolled freefall. In Martinez's analysis, the aftershock of the electrical failure caused the passengers to huddle in front of the submarine's porthole. This cluster exacerbated the destabilization devoid of propulsion, and with the passengers and the pilot amassed towards the front near the porthole, the submersible's longitudinal stability was severely compromised, he explained. With such an abrupt descent, the submarine succumbed to an enormous increase in pressure, leading to a fierce compression of the vessel. The hull, against its resistance, contracted instantly, shrinking to a mere 20% to 30% of its original volume. Martin surmised that the passenger is met an immediate death, an unfortunate certainty in its theory. He painted a haunting picture of the passenger's final moments, boldly conscious of the impending doom. Shrouded in an all-consuming darkness during those terrifying 48 seconds, they were painfully aware one can hardly comprehend the horror they must have endured. Then the implosion strikes, bringing sudden and instantaneous death, the expert reflected.
We're doing this tour of the sub, and then we're going to go back in next year, so gearing up to do it again. And then all the things that are now coming out of it, now that we've been to the Titanic, the number of partners and folks who were sort of on the sidelines waiting to see how it turned out are all now super excited to join in.
As the Titan commenced its gradual descent into the icy depths, words of goodwill wafted from the mothership. Wishing the divers an enjoyable journey, the Polar Prince crew instructed a systems check, affirming that all was in good order for the deep sea dive. Less than an hour into the mission, at approximately 8:34 a.m., a dispatch from the submersible reassured those aboard the Polar Prince that all systems were functioning as expected. The Titan confirmed its scheduled descent into the unfathomable depths, a voyage that had been meticulously planned and executed so far. Throughout the journey, the crew of the Titan diligently maintained contact with the Polar Prince in the eerie silence of the deep sea. The only reassurances were the updates transmitted every 45 minutes. The crew confirmed their current depth and emphasized that all systems were stable and their descent was still in progress. However, a worrying development arose an hour and 15 minutes into the voyage. The real-time monitoring system, the Titan's onboard sentinel designed to detect and alert any structural issues, began flashing red signals, adding to the mounting tension. Cracking noises were heard from the pointed end of the sub. The exact source remained elusive to the crew, creating an atmosphere of impending dread. As the clock struck 9:28 a.m., the Titan crew, reacting to the alarm signals from the real-time monitoring system, reportedly slowed the submersible's descent velocity. The Polar Prince, in contact with the sub, inquired if an ascent was needed. In a response, the Titan revealed their plan to release the ballast and jettison from the frame a strategic maneuver to instigate an ascent. The crew set about their emergency procedures. However, the submersible's ascent proved worryingly slower than anticipated, achieving a mere 65th rise over 3 minutes. To exacerbate the already dire situation, their power system began showing signs of failure. The Titan's last known communication to the Polar Prince arrived at a harrowing 9:46 a.m. The message was ominous, reporting a red alert on the power system. The absence of punctuation and disorderly syntax was telltale evidence of the crew's rising panic. And then, in a horrific turn of events, communication was abruptly severed at 9:46 a.m. What followed was a desperate struggle for contact from the crew of the Polar Prince. Echoing into the silence, the mothership pleaded, "We're not receiving you. Update, please." Further attempts for a status and depth report were met with the same unsettling silence. A particularly distressing message followed, "Please respond if you're able to," reflecting the intense desperation on board the Polar Prince. Now, after this disaster happened, guess what this Oceangate passenger's stepson do? Social media users were left stunned after he made inappropriate tweets about his inheritance and his inability to get laid. With the world still mourning the loss of the passengers in the Oceangate Submersible, passenger Hamish Harding's stepson has been posting tweets about girls. Seeing Zaz's tweets, social media users were outraged, as many commented that Brian was acting desperate and inappropriate. After the previous flirting with the model during the Oceangate search operation fiasco, Brian has now made comments about not being able to get laid, even after having massive inheritance. Here's what he said. "With millions to spare, I still can't get laid. With all this cash, I just want a girl to hang out with, please." However, he did not stop there. After he received massive backlash on this post, he tweeted, "I've honestly never been bothered by mean people on Twitter. I'm originally from New Jersey. We have thick skin. We're a different breed. New Jersey strong." He then made another racist tweet, writing, Quit asking me for money unless you're a beautiful woman, trans women too, and of model, or a black dude trying to go to college. What infuriated social media users this time was that it wasn't the first instance where Brian had shown his desperation. In late June, when the Oceangate was being searched, he was seen tweeting and retweeting images of girls. This sparked outrage among social media users, who called the British billionaire Hamish Harding's stepson creepy. After the British billionaire went missing with the other passengers in the Oceangate Submersible, Zaz was left with millions worth of fortune, which he will be sharing with two of his stepbrothers, his mum's two sons with Harding, and his sister. In my opinion, he has insensitivity, but that's a young boy, so people should really care on his childish tweets. However, now a yacht broker has been trying to sell an old Oceangate submersible for almost $800,000, but now fears that the shuttered company's imploded Titan will make that almost impossible. Steve Rauch listed the 1,996 built Antipodes, which Oceangate CEO Stockton Rush bought used as his first submersible, for $795,000 on behalf of the deep sea exploration company, and has been trying to unload it for them for the past 5 years, according to Insider. But he said it's clear Oceangate has even less of a chance at selling it now, and he's done trying to peddle it too. "I don't want to have anything to do with it," Rauch told the outlet just weeks after Oceangate's Titan submersible imploded on its journey to the Titanic shipwreck, killing all 5 people aboard, including Rush. The broker said he had been trying to sell the 13 1/2-foot-long Antipodes for years, but only got some interest from people who weren't legit or were flakes, the outlet reported. The vessel, which was built by Florida-based Perry Submersibles, went through several people and several owners before Rush bought it, Rauch said. The sub features 6 electric thrusters, 2 58-inch hemispheric acrylic domes, and is extremely comfortable for pilot and up to 4 crew, the page says, adding that it includes life support systems for 72 hours for 5 people. Its maximum depth is listed at 305 meters, or 1,000 feet, far less than the 500-foot depth of the famed shipwreck. Like the Titan, the Antipodes seats 5 people, but the similarities end there. Antipodes was originally built for Perry Submersibles and was owned by several others before being sold to Oceangate. It's able to dive to a depth of 1,000 feet, as compared to the nearly 13,000 feet needed to reach the wreck of the Titanic. Unlike the Titan, the Antipodes is classed as a submersible vessel by the American Bureau of Shipping, which means it has been certified as meeting industry standards. Oceangate listed the submersible for sale after the company built its own submersible, the Cyclops one, which was a prototype for the Titan. The Antipodes may now be considered the ultimate collector's item for deep-sea enthusiasts who don't mind being limited. While it may not be the ideal vehicle for reaching the Titanic, it's perfect for those who prefer to keep their underwater adventures slightly less ambitious. Like and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video. Peace. Mysterious minds.